You've tried forcing change, haven't you? You've used willpower, discipline, and sheer grit to fight those patterns you want to break, only to end up exhausted and right back where you started. You've set the goals, made the vision boards, and repeated the affirmations until you were blue in the face. But the same old anxieties and frustrations just keep coming back. Like ghosts you can't exorcise. If that sounds familiar, it's not because you're weak or undisciplined. It's because you've been trying to solve a deeper problem with surface-level force. But what if the solution isn't to fight harder? What if the real power to change everything lies in the simple, calm act of paying attention? What if change begins not with effort, but with awareness? There's a concept in psychology and a mind-bending principle in quantum physics that both point to the same truth. The act of observation changes the thing being observed. Understanding this will reveal why your attention is the most powerful tool you have for dissolving the very reality you've been struggling against. This isn't about magical thinking. This is about the fundamental nature of reality. And more importantly, the fundamental nature of you. Let's be honest about what that internal fight feels like. It's a war. One part of you, the ambitious, hopeful, conscious you declares that this time, things will be different. You'll be more confident. You'll stop procrastinating. You'll finally break free from that feeling of not being enough. You set your jaw, summon your energy, and you charge. And for a little while, it might even work. You feel a surge of motivation. You're taking action, and things feel different. But then, slowly, insidiously, the old programming seeps back in. A stressful day, a critical comment, a moment of doubt, and suddenly, you're thinking the same old thoughts, feeling the same old emotions, and reacting in the same old ways. The burnout that follows is profound because it's not just physical exhaustion, it's soul-level fatigue. It's the exhaustion that comes from fighting yourself day in and day out and feeling like you're losing. And worse, feeling like you're the only one who can't seem to win this fight. The core frustration is a paradox. If you are the one trying so hard to change, who is the one resisting? This is the question most people never stop long enough to ask. If you're applying all the force, who is pushing back? This question points to a massive misunderstanding of how change actually happens. We've been taught to approach our inner world like a battlefield, to see our unwanted patterns as enemies to be conquered. We treat our anxiety and our self-doubt like invaders. But what if they aren't invaders? What if they are simply reflections? What if the very act of fighting them is what gives them their power? This is where we need to shift our entire approach. From forceful action to focused awareness, from fighting to observing. And the inspiration for why this works is found in two fascinating places: a factory from the 1920s and the bizarre reality of the subatomic world. Nearly a century ago, a series of experiments took place at the Hawthorne works, a massive factory in Illinois. Researchers wanted to figure out how to make workers more productive. They tinkered with the environment, changing the lighting, adjusting work hours, and modifying rest breaks, expecting to find a clear link between better conditions and higher output. But they stumbled upon something baffling. Productivity went up, but it seemed to have little to do with the specific changes. They'd increase the light, and productivity would rise. Then, they'd dim the light, and productivity would rise again. The workers were changing their behavior simply because they knew they were being watched. This phenomenon became known as the Hawthorne effect. For decades. The simple takeaway was that observation changes behavior. But it's more nuanced than that. It wasn't just cold surveillance. The real shift happened because of the quality of the attention they were receiving. The presence of the researchers made the workers feel significant. People in lab coats were asking for their opinions and treating them like important collaborators. They weren't just being monitored, they were being seen. And when people feel seen, not judged, not fixed, not corrected, something in them naturally reorganizes. The workers responded not to the change in lighting, but to the feeling that they mattered. This interested, non-judgmental attention activated a different psychological state, shifting them from mechanical drones to engaged participants. Now, pause and think about that. The simple act of being observed with genuine interest fundamentally altered their performance. So, what would happen if you learned to turn this same quality of attention inward? Not to fix yourself, not to improve yourself, but simply to see yourself clearly for the first time. What if you could observe your own fears and insecurities, not with judgment, but with the calm curiosity of a researcher? This principle that observation changes things has a fascinating parallel in the very fabric of physical reality. It's a discovery that shattered our classical understanding of the universe, the observer effect in quantum mechanics. Now, let's be crystal clear. These are two different concepts. We're not saying your thoughts magically control electrons. We're using physics as a mirror to understand attention. The Hawthorne effect is a psychological phenomenon about human behavior. The observer effect in quantum physics is about how the act of physical measurement disturbs a quantum system. A conscious mind isn't required. But the metaphor it provides for our own consciousness is too powerful to ignore. Physicists discovered that the building blocks of our reality particles, like electrons, don't behave like tiny, solid billiard balls. When they are not being measured or observed, they exist in a state of pure potential, a superposition, where they are like a wave of probability, a cloud of infinite possibilities at once. The famous double-slit experiment shows this perfectly. Fire electrons one by one at a screen with two slits. If no one is watching which slit the electron goes through, it behaves like a wave, passing through both slits at once and creating an interference pattern on the detector screen. But here's where it gets weird. The moment a detector is placed at the slits to observe or measure which one the electron passes through, everything changes. The act of measurement itself forces the electron to choose. The wave of potential collapses, and the electron behaves like a single, definite particle, passing through only one slit. The interference pattern vanishes. The act of measurement collapsed the wave of potential into a single, concrete event. So let's borrow this principle as a powerful metaphor. A metaphor not for controlling reality, but for understanding how focus shapes experience. What if your focused, conscious attention acts like that detector? What if, by choosing where to place your awareness, you are metaphorically collapsing the wave of potential in your own life and helping a specific reality take form? This is where the idea often gets twisted. This isn't about staring at your empty bank account and willing it to be full. The double-slit experiment of your life isn't happening out there. The laboratory is inside you. Not because you control the universe, but because you participate in how it's perceived. The particles and waves are your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. The measuring device is your conscious attention. A leading theory in neuroscience called predictive coding suggests that your brain isn't just a passive camera recording reality. It's an active, interpretive machine that constantly generates predictions about the world and then filters sensory data to confirm them. Your perception is an active construction, not a passive reception. And attention is the steering wheel, not the engine. And what tool directs this process? Your attention. Where you place your attention tells your brain what is important and what to build your reality from. This is why the old saying, "You don't get what you want, you get what you are," is so deeply true. Your state of being, the dominant collection of thoughts and feelings you inhabit, is an act of continuous, unconscious observation. If your dominant state is anxiety, your attention is unconsciously scanning for things to be anxious about. You are perpetually measuring and thus collapsing the world into a series of threatening events, which reinforces your anxious state. You're stuck in a feedback loop where your observation creates your reality, and your reality then justifies your observation. The universe isn't punishing you. You're just getting a perfect reflection of where your attention has been. This brings us back to that war within, that feeling of being completely stuck. Now we can see what's really happening. You aren't fighting a stubborn external reality. You're fighting your own reflection. For years, your identity has been unconsciously observing and recreating the same patterns. If you have a core belief that you're not good enough, your attention has become a master at finding evidence to support it. It will filter out compliments and magnify criticism. You have been, without realizing it, a powerful observer, using your attention to continuously collapse your potential into the painful reality of not enough. Not because you chose it consciously, but because it was learned, repeated, and reinforced over time. And this isn't just a mental habit. Repetitive emotional states create powerful conditioned responses in the body. When you feel anger or frustration over and over, the neural pathways for those emotions become stronger and more automatic. Your body and brain get used to that familiar chemical state. This explains why pure willpower so often fails. Willpower was never meant to override the nervous system, only to guide it once safety is restored. You, with your conscious mind, decide you want to be happy. But the body, conditioned for years on stress hormones, sends a signal to the brain saying, "Hey, where's my usual hit of anxiety? This peace and quiet feels dangerously unfamiliar." Your subconscious then obliges, generating a thought that produces the familiar feeling. You're trying to use your conscious intention to fight deeply ingrained subconscious programming, a battle you are destined to lose through force alone. If force isn't the answer, what is stop fighting? Step out of the program and become the one who watches it run. You must shift your identity from being the pattern to being the awareness that notices the pattern. This doesn't mean doing nothing, it means doing something more precise. This is the practice of becoming the conscious observer. This isn't passive or weak. It's the most powerful move you can make. Here's how you begin. First, name and notice. When a negative thought arises, instead of instantly believing it, you just notice it. You internally say, there is the thought that I am going to fail. When a wave of anxiety washes over you, you notice, I am sensing the feeling of anxiety in my chest. This simple act creates a tiny but crucial space. In that space, you are no longer the thought. You are the one aware of the thought. Second, bring non-judgmental curiosity. This is the key we learned from the Hawthorne effect. You can't observe yourself with the energy of a critic. That's just another form of fighting. Instead, you must observe with the genuine curiosity of a scientist. Interesting. That self-doubt is back. What triggered it? What does it actually feel like in my body? By approaching your inner world with this gentle curiosity, You create a state of safety where change and neuroplasticity are actually possible. Judgment locks you in. Curiosity opens the door. Third, withdraw your energy. You're not suppressing the thought. You're simply refusing to fuse with it. A thought pattern only has power because you feed it with your belief and identification. When you observe a pattern and you meet it with awareness instead of reacting to it, you're cutting off its food supply. You're letting it be there without becoming it. You don't obliterate it with force. You let it starve from a lack of attention. Finally, redirect your attention. Once you've created space, you can consciously choose where to place your observation. This isn't about pretending the problem isn't there. It's about deliberately looking for evidence of the state you wish to inhabit. Instead of scanning for proof of failure, ask yourself, where was I resourceful today? What's one tiny thing I handled well? You are beginning to use your attention to observe a new reality into existence. One moment at a time. The revelation here is a profound release of pressure. That old, painful part of you doesn't need to be destroyed or fought. It just needs to be seen. When you see it from a place of calm, non-judgmental awareness, you are no longer it. You have withdrawn the one thing that gives it life, your identification with it. In that moment of pure observation, you become free. Not free because the thought disappears, but free because it no longer defines you. If this concept is clicking for you, if you're feeling that sense of resonance, take a moment to hit the like button. It's a small action, but it signals to the wider community that this message is valuable and helps it reach others who might still be stuck in that exhausting fight. So what does this look like day to day? How does it transform your life from a battlefield into a laboratory? Imagine your morning. The old pattern might be to immediately grab your phone, letting the chaos of emails and news program your state for the day. The observer, instead, takes a few moments. They sit quietly and simply notice, what's my internal state right now? Is there any lingering anxiety? Is there a feeling of peace? You become the first observer of your day, consciously setting your own frequency before the world does it for you. Now, imagine a challenge. A critical email lands in your inbox. The old reaction is instant, a jolt of stress, a tightening in the chest. The practice of the observer creates a sacred pause. You feel the stress response, and you notice it. Ah, there is the stress response. You take a breath, and in that breath, your nervous system receives a new signal. There is no immediate threat. By seeing it, you are not it. From this calmer place, you can see the email not as a personal attack, but as a problem to be solved. In the evening, the old pattern is to ruminate and judge your day. I shouldn't have said that. I failed at that. The practice of the observer is to reflect with compassionate curiosity. What did I learn today? At what moments did I successfully step back from an old pattern? When did I get caught? This transforms every day, even the hard ones, into a source of learning, not self-condemnation. This is not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice of choosing awareness over automatic reaction. It's cultivating a new relationship with yourself, one built on awareness and compassion, not criticism. It is a profound act of self-love, because it honors the truth of who you are, not the fleeting thoughts and feelings, but the timeless, silent awareness that notices them all. We began by acknowledging the burnout that comes from trying to force change. We saw on a factory floor how genuine attention could transform human behavior. We then journeyed into the quantum realm for a powerful metaphor. witnessing how the act of measurement collapses infinite potential into a single reality. We brought this principle home, into the only laboratory that truly matters, your own consciousness. We learned that the secret is not to fight the darkness, but to turn on the light of your own awareness. To observe your thoughts, feelings, and patterns without judgment is to disarm them. It's to stop feeding the old reality with your energy. By doing this, you reclaim your power. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your past. You are the eternal observer, and your ultimate power lies not in fighting the old reality, but in calmly observing it until it dissolves, and then turning your loving attention to the new one waiting to be born. Your attention isn't a small thing. It is everything. Because whatever you consistently observe, you eventually become familiar with, and familiarity shapes identity. To make this real for you right now, go to the comments and declare one pattern, one thought, or feeling that you are now committed to simply observing. Whether it's the voice of self-doubt, the habit of procrastination, or the feeling of anxiety, just name it. By writing it down, you're taking the first powerful step to becoming the conscious observer of it. And while you're there, if this blend of science and consciousness resonates with you, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for your most precious asset, your attention.